We are hoping for rain. That's the big one. You know, even just having this cloud cover, that's a bonus.
Tonight, the McHugh Creek fire is nearly triple the size it was last night. Black Hawk helicopters spent the day dumping water as the flames inched closer to the Seward Highway. Good evening, I'm Emily Carlson. Jovi Hill is off tonight. Firefighters now say they think people likely started this fire. Right now, all efforts to put it out are coming from the air. This afternoon, 5 hotshot crews from California arrived to help fight it from the ground, but they won't start until tomorrow. Meanwhile, homes on both sides of the fire are in danger about a mile away. Tonight, crews are concerned that high winds could push the flames right into those neighborhoods. People are packing up and preparing to leave. Now take a look at how the fire has changed in the last 24 hours. This is what it looked like last night when it was 300 acres. Tonight, it's grown in all directions. It is now 842 acres. Now that sounds alarming, but firefighters say crews in Rainbow Valley have gone through and prepared every home should it turn in their direction. KTV 11's Eric Rubel is live at Beluga Point for us tonight with the latest. Eric.
As you mentioned, the fire is growing and it is just about 1 mile away from the nearest neighborhood, and that is not a comforting distance for anyone who lives in Rainbow Valley or on the hillside. We were there with some of those homeowners earlier today when they got an update from authorities on their progress. Hundreds of people are packed inside South High School's auditorium, hoping to hear good news about the McHugh Creek fire. One of them is Larissa Hale, who lives on Potter Valley Road.
I've never heard of anything happening like this, and it's so close to Anchorage. You know, it's close to everyone who lives in Anchorage.
She's here looking for answers, trying to see if her family will need to evacuate.
Every member of our family has a bag of something they cherish and a week's worth of clothing.
A new map shows the fire is still about 1 mile away from the nearest homes.
It just expanded. So it didn't make any dramatic runs in any direction. It was just more of an expansion of the existing perimeter.
With a fresh batch of crews from the lower 48, there are now more than 200 firefighters here. They're all hoping for rain.
Possibly Friday is our day to get that rain, and so that is what we really need to reduce the heat of the fire.
In the meantime, they're telling people to get ready in case an evacuation is necessary.
If you have a firefighter or a police officer at your door telling you it's an emergency, it's an emergency. So just go.
For now, Hale and her family are ready to go.
We will have teams of
Now, some rain is expected here tomorrow. However, the majority of it will fall on Friday. Also, the wind is expected to change directions. That means that we can expect to see some smoke in the Anchorage Bowl tomorrow and Friday. Emily.
Well, we will look out for that smoke, Eric. Meanwhile, is there any word on containment of the fire?
Yeah, one Bureau of Land Management official told me that right now they're not prepared to give a public containment figure right now. However, we should get that number sometime soon. Emily.
Eric Rubel live for us tonight at Beluga Point. Thanks so much, Eric. Now, tomorrow, firefighters hope to tackle the fire from the ground. This afternoon, 100 firefighters arrived from California to help. Most of the members in the hotshot crews have never worked in Alaska before. They spent the day learning the unique challenges of fires in our state. A typical assignment for them is about 14 days, but local foresters say this one could be much shorter.
Proud to be here. You know, we're part of a national agency, and wherever, you know, they need help countrywide, we're here for it.
These crews are trained specifically to battle flames in tough terrain. Alaska foresters say there are crews of this caliber in Alaska, but they're already working other fires.
One of the best opportunities to use the crew is in steep terrain like they're working in, because some of our Type 2 crews are not in as good a physical condition. So these crews have the ability to get up to some very difficult steep terrain.
The lower 48 crews are staying at Golden View Middle School because there are concerns about bears near the fire. And it's not just firefighters tackling the McHugh Creek flames. KTV 11 meteorologist Melissa Fry tells us how other meteorologists are helping out.
Behind these walls, meteorologists are working 24/7 to keep people safe.
We're concerned both for safety of the residents, but also for safety of the firefighters. Safety of people is our #1 concern.
Although forecasting the weather around a wildfire is not an everyday event, They're ready when the call comes in.
We expect some active fire behavior today since we have a very favorable weather report as far as fire behavior goes.
That weather report provided by the National Weather Service, one that requires additional resources.
At first, when the McHugh Creek fire started, we were just providing spot forecasts just for the fire, but as the fire developed, we decided that we needed to have more support. So we brought Kimberly in.
Kimberly is devoting her entire time to this wildfire, using models, satellites, and weather instruments on the ground to predict the weather for the McHugh Valley and surrounding communities. But she is not a one-man band.
They decided they really needed a meteorologist at the site, and so they called us requesting a meteorologist, and Christian was available to send.
Not just a meteorologist, but one that is specifically trained to forecast the weather on location in these elements. He's now part of the command center helping make decisions.
So when they're thinking about what's going to happen tomorrow or what's going to happen Friday or next week, they need to know what the weather's going to do.
And the current forecast is one these firefighters are counting on.
We're also expecting a pretty good rain event tomorrow, so that's what the Weather Service has promised us. We're going to hold them to that.
And our own meteorologist Carlos Flores also watching that rain event headed our way. So when is the earliest that we can expect to see some sprinkles fall?
Well, we could start to see them after midnight tonight in just a few hours, but it's not going to be a really heavy dose of rain. Tomorrow, as the day progresses, we have a better and better chance of that. Let's take a look at the current conditions. Now, in South Central, the winds have pretty much calmed down, although in the last hour, they've upticked just a mile or two in speed. Those are sustained winds. You can see here over on the hillside, it's still just 4 miles an hour and calm in many locations. Over at the McHugh Creek area, it was 7 miles an hour on the gust just a few hours ago, so it's kicked up into the low teens right now, and we are expecting that that is going to start to get a little bit windier, maybe 15 to 30 mile an hour wind expected on Turnagain by the late morning as that front gets closer and closer. And you can see where the fire is in location to Anchorage. It's across the Turnagain Arm from Hope, just a little bit further out to the west. And as we pull on back, you can see that slug of moisture that's heading this way. Now that front is starting to fall apart. Notice that the last few frames right there, it starts to fall apart. That's what it was expected to do as it came closer to us, but there is still some rain. That's only the first batch of rain. It looks like the heaviest rain is going to be Thursday night and on Friday. I'll talk about how much rain we're looking at coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, thanks, Carlos. We continue to follow the fire and all the containment efforts. We'll have the latest on KTVA.com and tomorrow morning on Daybreak starting at 6 a.m. Well, another fire kept Anchorage firefighters busy this morning. They say a smoke detector saved a woman's life. It started on Linden Drive off Raspberry Road around 9:45 this morning. When crews arrived, smoke was pouring out of the top floor. Firefighters say smoke detectors woke up a woman sleeping inside. Flames could have trapped her there. Crews were also concerned after it took them 10 minutes to find the family's dog, who was hiding underneath a bed.
Well, the fact that we were able to find the dog so late into the incident is amazing. It made me feel great when I saw that dog being carried out by a crew. We had checked that bedroom probably 4 times for that dog, and it was just hidden in a really tight place, and there was smoke down to the ground. So the fact that the dog is even alive is pretty darn lucky.
Firefighters say it looks like the fire started in the bathroom and was likely caused by a ceiling fan. The NTSB is investigating after 2 planes ended up face down on a beach near Homer. Richard Hojon has property near Chinitna Bay and sent us these pictures. He says flights seen planes chew up the sand, and when they hit a soft spot, they tip over. Now, no one was hurt yesterday, but Hojon is concerned if it happens again at higher speeds, the crash could be worse. Chinitna Bay is 55 miles west of Homer. More than 1,000 pounds of food for homeless youth was stolen from a nonprofit. The food went missing from a shed at Anchorage Community Mental Health Services. It was being stored for Alaska Youth Advocates, an organization that serves at-risk and homeless teens. AYA gives out dozens of pounds of food every day.
We would absolutely have used all of it and more. And so to have it gone, we've got to figure out how we're going to kind of fill in that space.
AYA will run out of food in the next few months. Anyone interested in donating food can drop it off at Anchorage Community Mental Health Services. Bears continue to cause problems at Denali National Park. Rangers wanted to open the Savage River area tomorrow, but there's been more bear sightings. Last month, a grizzly bear bit and scratched a hiker, and another bear charged at cars. The Savage River and Mountain Vista areas will remain closed for another week. As work continues cleaning up a toxic mess on Attu.
4 drums with some sheen down in this water body.
The search for what else could be buried on that island.
You're watching KTVA 11's Nightcast with Joe Vigil and Emily Carlson, meteorologist Carlos Fora, and sports with Dave Goldman.
Yesterday, we took you to the remote Aleutian island of Attu, where the Army Corps of Engineers is working to clean up a mess made by the military 70 years ago. But the project hit an unexpected snag. KTVA 11's Bonnie Bowman shows us how it could impact future projects on the island.
The Army Corps of Engineers worked to clean up 2 sites on Attu this summer. One, a former ball field turned toxic pit, and the other, a dump site for barrels full of tar and fuel. The ball field cleanup was successful, but at the dump site, the crews discovered more than they bargained for. An oozy, toxic mess. Drums of tar and diesel buried by the military decades ago, the focus of a cleanup on the island of Attu this summer.
This is stuff we've excavated up.
Project engineer Andy Sorum says those drums are causing a problem uncovered when excavation began.
Really started to realize that there were a lot more drums there than we anticipated.
More drums than the crew is prepared to handle, which means the cleanup won't be finished this summer.
We'll make sure that we close up our excavations and protect any of the contaminants from exposing itself onto the water surface or becoming an entrapment hazard for the birds. Hopefully very soon we intend to come back out and finish the rest of this.
The chance to come back out means the chance to do more work in other parts of the island.
This is them. 2 old transformers.
That's why physical scientist Jake Sweet is on the hunt for other contaminants like PCBs.
They don't break down naturally, so usually something like a PCB out here is someone we would have to come out and remove.
He spent the last few weeks walking the island looking for potential sources of contamination.
It's quiet. It's interesting history out here.
The only audience to his efforts, the island's natural inhabitants, who are part of the reason, Sweet says, finding old toxins is important.
Hopefully do the right thing and, pick it up and send it to where it belongs.
So I see there's a boiler for this building here in the remains.
Sorum is also part of the contaminant search.
4 drums with some sheen down in this water body.
As he walks the island, he marks locations on a GPS. Some areas are cleared. Others, like this pipeline, are marked for future testing.
It might provide us the opportunity to locate some other feature of concern just based on its location.
The military built up much of the southeast part of Attu.
This is an old Army aviation hangar.
There are ruins scattered for miles, and where there was construction, there could be contamination. Like that found at the barrel dump. The price tag for this first project, $10 million. Funded through the formerly used defense site, or FUDS program, the same place Sorum says he can likely get more dollars to come back and finish the job.
The good news is I can be pretty confident that we'll be able to come back out here and finish this. It's not going to languish for years.
Cleaning up this major mess and any others they find hidden for decades in the rubble. Work on Attu has wrapped up for the year. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, the crews removed more than 12,000 tons of contaminated soil and 90 tons of tar drums. They were not able to remove all the drums as expected and will have to go back to finish the work.
And coming up, burning 1 mile from their homes, the McHugh Creek fire is now more than 800 acres. What fire officials are telling people who live nearby, coming up.
And there's a good chance the rain that's headed this way is going to be quite significant in Anchorage bowl standards. I'll tell you how much we're going to get. For now, here's our sunrise and sunset for tomorrow. We don't have 18 hours of daylight anymore.
From the Alaska Weather Center, here's Carlos Fora.
All right, a change in the weather pattern is taking place. We got the high clouds pushing in. They're going to be getting thicker and thicker. Could see some light sprinkles overnight, and in the fire area over at McHugh Creek could be a little bit heavier than that. But I want you to notice something. Notice how well organized this front is, except in the last few frames. It starts to break apart as it moves over the Alaska Range. That is expected, and it looks like this front, as it pushes over us, it's going to stall over our area here in South Central. And then our 7-day forecast, as you can see, shows that temperatures aren't affected tremendously with this. We're going to break away from record-setting temperatures, but it's still going to be pretty comfortable.
All right. Thanks so much, Carlos.
You bet.
4 days after it started, the McHugh Creek fire is still growing and still threatening homes. What firefighters tonight told people who live nearby to do coming up. And outside help is here to help try and contain that fire. When hotshot crews from the lower 48 will get started. Today, the McHugh Creek fire grew in all directions. Right now, it's burning more than 800 acres near the Seward Highway. KTVA 11's Eric Rubel is live at Beluga Point with the latest. Eric.
Emily, the fire is continuing to grow, but not as fast as before, according to officials. The number of people fighting the fire doubled today, thanks to more than 100 firefighters being flown in from the lower 48. Flames are still at least 1 mile from the nearest neighborhood, and the weather is expected to cool down tomorrow. Winds will change direction, and there might be some rain. Officials say that will help their efforts, and one fire behavior expert says even a little bit of rain can go a long way.
Once we get 1/1000th of an inch of rain on this, or precip, that's really going to make a significant impact just on those fine fuels.
Now, no evacuations are in place right now, but they are telling people to be prepared. And now there's also no information as to the fire's containment. And as Carlos mentioned a few moments ago, people in the Anchorage Bowl can expect to see some smoke and perhaps smell some smoke tomorrow due to the change in the direction of the wind. Emily?
All right, thanks so much, Eric. And there will be more firefighters battling the fire tomorrow. 100 firefighters from the lower 48 arrived this afternoon. Now, this is the first time this year the Alaska Division of Forestry has called on help from the lower 48. These 5 hotshot crews are all from California, and most have never fought a fire in Alaska before. A typical wildland firefighting assignment is 14 days, but local foresters say this one could be much shorter. And of course, we'll continue to follow this fire. You can find updates on our website, ktva.com, and tomorrow morning on KTV 11's Daybreak, which starts at 6 a.m. All right, turning to sports. What do we've got the WEO games up in Fairbanks. We can't forget about that.
That's it. You know, you hit the summertime, we get mid-July, and we go, it's that time again there. And on day one already, records falling. Well, they're going up and then they're falling, if you get the drift. Nick Hansen will tell us just how he did it in the scissor broad jump when we come back.
KTVA 11 Sports with Dave Goldman.
Hey folks, very good evening. Day one, the WEO games up in Fairbanks. Yeah, it's that time of the year again, and the Carlson Center, of course, the site, and a big day for that guy, Nick Hansen, the Unalakleet resident. Got it going with the scissor broad jump. He broke his own record, as a matter of fact, 36 feet, 7 inches. You know, this competition has always been about sportsmanship as well as performance.
The people around me is really what made a difference. Guys coming up to me and just telling me no pressure, guys coming up to me telling me, yeah, don't worry about it, just jump. And that really got into my head, like, okay, just relax, just go out there and have fun. And that's really what made me go the distance I did, because I came out expecting nothing, you know, and walked away with a record, so that's pretty awesome.
Looks to me like he leaped away with a record. That was pretty good today. Overtime, meantime, in hockey going to remain the same next season for UAA and the rest of the teams in college. The NCAA Ice Rules Committee today tabled its proposal for the 4-on-4 extra period. Coaches overwhelmingly approved the change back in April, so the NCAA will allow a 3-on-3 period and a shootout in the overtime as well. These are going to take place after the standard 5-on-5 period if the game remains tied. Staying with hockey, and local too. Evan Trupp taking those skills overseas. The Anchorage native will play this season for the Augsburger Panther in Germany. That's the top pro league over there. Trupp will spend season. He spent last season with the Chicago Wolves of the American Hockey League and is a former Alaska ace, parts of 2 years, 2012 to 2014. Another guy locally on the ice, watching Austin Wuthrich score for Toledo back in December over Indy. And another Anchorage product with a hockey job, re-upping with the Walleye. He had 15 goals and 13 assists in that first season as a pro last year with Toledo and headed right back to Ohio. Check this out, Carlson. Last night, Albert Pujols in the batter's box. Yikes, against Tony Barnett. And you can see how concerned Barnett is. This wasn't a purpose pitch. He's trying to go inside and gets away from him. Fortunately, he's okay. Okay, no problem there. Now you watch in slow motion. This is 92 miles an hour coming at you. And you think about it, this is millimeters. If his head's raised up a little bit, there's one more angle of it.
Did it hit his helmet?
It hit the bill of the helmet, then the shoulder, and thankfully got away. And he was okay, smiling about it. Isn't that something else?
Scary stuff.
You better believe it, man. He actually hit 2 home runs in the game before that. And again, no hard feelings, well, literally with the pitcher. That happens in baseball. Okay, big storms in D.C. last night. This is right over the White House, Carlos. You ought to like this kind of stuff there. The neighborhood's got it, too, around town. This is a tree that fell around in southeast D.C. And thankfully, after the game, this was what happened with the Dodgers and the Nationals, Nats Park nearby.
It's flooded out.
Yeah, you got it there. Adrian Gonzalez of the Dodgers saying, all right, guys, get the rowboat out. Here it comes. That's the way things go.
Did they play today?
Well, they played tonight, no problem. Nationals beat the Dodgers. After the Dodgers won last night, it was back to normal because it didn't rain like that.
Oh, boy.
I saw you titled that Gully Washer.
I did, sir, yeah.
Joe Vigil would have said something about that.
He'd appreciate that kind of deal, wouldn't he, there?
A lot of people in Alaska hoping that we get that kind of rain here in our state.
Yeah, well, it's not going to be that kind of rain, but we have had some rain out to the interior, raining right now. They're going to get some more rain. Rivers high, by the way, if you're going up any of the rivers up in the interior. Meanwhile, we are going to be looking at some rain. It'll start out light, probably here in Anchorage. Maybe some drizzle starting after midnight, but when you drive in the morning, don't be afraid if you have to put your windshield wipers on. The real rain is going to start on Thursday night, overnight into Friday, and throughout Friday. It looks like we could easily get about a half an inch, some locations up to about an inch of rain with this particular couple systems that are going to work their way through. And they're going to have lingering showers into Saturday morning, then scattered showers from Saturday afternoon all the way through the first part of next week.
All right. Well, we could use the rain, so no complaining
we sure do.
about being outside, even though I know a lot of people want to get outside. So keep watching that fire for you. Yeah. All right, and coming up, Tony Goldwyn joins Stephen Colbert on The Late Show in a few minutes, and you can watch the Garden Report tomorrow morning on Daybreak. That's about it. That's all we got for you.
Yeah, I can't think of tune in to something else tomorrow. It's us, again at 5.
6 a.m.
You want to give the 10-day forecast?
No, you already said the Daybreak thing.
What's it going to be next September?
Sunny.
Well, he's the best in the business, folks.
Have a good night.
Did that take care of the rest of the time? Are we done?
We got to turn these mics off.
KTVA News on TV, streaming on the web, or on your smartphone. The news continues on KTVA.com.